Sofia, Brian, Barbara, thank you for joining me today. One of the things I've realized about all the brands we work with in general is that, a lot of them are very involved in, hyper-focused in their own product, in their own world, but they don't always have the access to the knowledge base of all these other brands, what they're doing, where the trends are heading in pretty much any area, but specifically in packaging, which you all are experts multi-decade in. I started realizing that, our partners are constantly launching new products, new SKUs. They are likely sourcing this from either a packaging provider, starting from scratch every time, talking to other brands. And, you all on a daily basis get asked so many questions about how packaging is done today for so many different CPG brands. Also, what trends and where things are headed. And so I wanted to provide your expertise to our partners so that they had a sense of, just what is happening now with packaging and where are things headed. And so I know it's a very broad question, but I'd love the three of you just to introduce yourselves real quick, and then maybe have one of you just start the conversation with, what are some of the hottest questions that you're getting right now when it comes to packaging?
Yeah. Well, I'm Brian Saputo. I am the CTO and president at Seacliff Beauty. Been in packaging for a long time, 25 plus years, mainly working on the brand side. So I understand the packaging and product development process, working for hair care companies like Wella, Procter & Gamble for 15 years. And in the last 4.5 years, I've been with Seacliff Beauty.
Hi, I'm Sofia. I'm actually in sales and I've been in sales for well over 30 years now. Been with Seacliff for now about 3 years, all total. And prior to that, I was I enjoy meeting people and hearing their stories and trying to figure out if there's a fit for Seacliff for what they're trying to do with their either new line or existing line. And so I love bringing people and finding people to bring them over to Seacliff. And I used to work, have a chemistry background, so I used to work selling laboratory equipment, and a lot of that equipment is used in the companies that actually produce and manufacture the formulas. So that's me, and we all work together as a team. So we're not individually, we're actually a team-oriented company.
I'm Barbara Duran, and I am the project manager, and I assist the customers into seeing their packaging, their dream come to fruition. I'm there for them to help them grow, help them, guide them, whatever they need to do. That's what I do. I fulfill their dream.
Perfect. Well, let's open with that question. You all are at the nexus of all the questions, all the curiosities. What are the biggest questions that you're getting right now from various brands, whether they're in the supplement space, the beauty space, or any other consumable food space? What type of questions are you getting from these clients right now?
Well, that is a broad question, Jacques. Typically customers come to us when they have a new initiative, whether that be in skincare, beauty care, pet care, where their business team will come to their development, their R&D folks, their product and packaging development folks, and say, hey, we're launching this new skincare brand or this new SKU, and that's where we come in. We usually end up talking to that group about what's possible. And that's really what we deal in, is the possibilities out there, right? So they'll come to us with a brief, and then we put together kind of some options for them. Hey, we've got this new product. We want it to be in a jar or a pump, or we're not sure what it should go in. And then we have a network of factories. So we're considered a manufacturer's rep. Our founder and CEO, Vonda Simon, has developed a network globally of factories that do injection molding, blow molding. They extrude tubes. We do boxes, we do, bags. We do it all. And then we put that together for our customers and showcase what those possibilities are. In addition to that, we also offer testing and manufacturing support in order to fill those packages or assemble those packages as well. So we really kind of work end to end to kind of meet those customer needs.
I would say, is there anything in particular in 2020, this is end of 2023, heading into 2024, about conversations you're having now, maybe because it's post-pandemic or it's post-inflation or post, or more sustainable. It's like, how have the conversations evolved this year versus, last year, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? I'm curious, how has that conversation evolved with the clients?
I mean, I'll let Sofia or Barbara chime in as well, but I would say 5 years ago there was a nice to have. Sustainability was a nice to have. Boy, it'd be nice if we could maybe be a little more sustainable. Today, it's not even a question. I don't know that we have very many conversations where people aren't interested or even required by their business to find a more sustainable solution. The bigger the company, the bigger the goals typically, and that's a generalization. But if we talk to L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, Clorox, for example, they have very set, strong goals. They need 50% post-consumer recycled resin in all their packaging by X, 2030. That wasn't the case, let's say, 5 years ago. The smaller brands are also curious and interested. They want to do the right thing, but they're not sure how to get started. And that's another area of expertise that we can bring to the table. We have a lot of experience in that.
Yeah, and I think also, like with the smaller brands, especially because for startups who don't know anything about packaging, so there's a lot of education that we have to educate them on as best as we can. And sometimes if they don't know about sustainability, that's something that we always introduce them the subject to, because that's something that they need to think about, especially if their long-term goal is to get into these Sephora's and Ulta's stores, because now they have their criteria of packaging sustainability that they have to meet. So there is education along with what we do as well.
Just to touch on that, Jacques, as you think about the full supply chain, we're also seeing the retailers putting on requirements in terms of sustainability. So if you want to put your brand into Sephora, like Sofia said, you've got to meet certain criteria now, and that's only increasing. We're seeing government changing regulations. For example, in France, there are certain resins that you won't be able to use in the near future, right? So all of these, we're seeing this funneling effect. Everything's kind of going closer to this sustainable goal.
One of the reasons that I wanted to have you all on was we had started talking about ocean recycled plastics, which, what the opportunities there were they were mind-blowing to me. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about what that looks like, the scale of what can be done, the trackability, the story. Tell me a little bit more about it. And I don't know if you have any of them on hand to actually show on screen, but if you don't, that's fine. But would love to just understand what's possible there.
What you're referring to is that we have an exclusive partnership with a brand called Tide Ocean Materials. And Tide Ocean Materials them about 2 years ago, and they were supplying fabrics and textile products from ocean plastic to other industries like fashion and et cetera. Watch bands was a big one for them. When we met them, we kind of brainstormed the idea of bringing them into the beauty space and the CPG space. So we have the exclusive distribution rights to use this Tide Ocean plastic. And basically, this is resin that is collected anywhere within 20 kilometers of the ocean. Okay, so it's not just in the ocean, it's ocean bound. And part of the goal here, Jacques, is to cut it off before it actually gets to the ocean. There are a lot of projects working on farming the Great Ocean Patch and trying to figure out how to manage that. What Tide does is look for areas where, like in Malaysia, for example, there are no waste streams. There's no landfills. And so all the garbage gets kind of thrown into the streets and kind of flows into the ocean. And it affects the ecosystems. It affects fishermen. It affects jobs. So Tides come in. They're helping to collect this material. They're creating jobs where jobs are lost. And really, we have found them to be a really great partner and a great cause. What we've been able to achieve is a resin that is FDA compliant. It's REACH compliant. We're able to manufacture it in polyethylene, polypropylene, PET. Thank you. PET, water bottle, basically. Or that water bottle's made of. We're able to do it up to 100%. And so really what this is in a nutshell, Jacques, is PCR. It's post-consumer recycled resin. It's specifically coming from an ocean-bound source. And yeah, so there's some of the examples that Barb's showing. And this resin, and so they have a partnership, tied as a partnership with the Swiss Institute of Applied Scientists, and they've developed a proprietary process to really develop a superior resin, superior PCR resin. Not exactly like virgin resin. You know, ultimately, virgin resin is always going to be the gold standard, but this is very, very close. And we have some very customers that are using it already and very interested in it.
Yeah, it's helpful to see Barbara's demo on screen of all the different colors, shapes, sizes. And I know you all had talked a little bit too about they can even provide like a QR code of some sort.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great point. So a lot of the problems with ocean plastic and PCR in general is is it really PCR? And in fact, is it really ocean plastic? So there's a lot of what we call greenwashing in the industry. And so what they've developed is a blockchain technology to track that material from, let's call, farming to all the way to manufacturing, right? So where it's collected, there's a system where they track it, they take pictures. What we give our customers is a QR code with each lot of resin they get, and you take a picture and an app pops up on your phone or a website, and can actually follow the progression of that resin with pictures of where it. Yeah, it's really kind of cool.
And if you want to go on our website, which is seacliffbeauty.com, that's all shown on our website too.
One of the things I also learned from you, just, even though I had some, background in talking to packaging, but I had, not nearly the depth of experience that you all had. You started explaining that people will also source different packaging from different partners. Like I'm doing a bad job of explaining it, but you were saying that as brands got larger and larger, they need to diversify the sources of where they get their packaging, and that oftentimes you may have, if someone is in fact getting packaging with another partner, that is not a normal or natural for them to also collaborate with you on different pieces of their line, different SKUs. Help me understand, how does that work? Maybe for some of our brands that are going from that 20 million to 30 million, 30 million to 60 million, 60 million to 100 million, they're not in the billions or anything. They're in this moment where their brand's growing, being able to source their packaging it can be a bottleneck to growth. How does that look for you all?
Well, I think it's true with any commodity, anything that you're selling. You don't want to be single sourced. If I'm a major brand and I'm buying everything from one factory in one part of the world and a hurricane hit, I'm out of luck, right? So a lot of the brands, what they'll do is they'll diversify they may have 3 to 5 packaging suppliers that they're working with. And there's a couple of reasons for that diversifies their approach, but it also allows for strong competition, So we actually, Seacliff Beauty, we know our competition. Vonda's been around for a while. We all have. And, there are other packaging companies out there. We try to differentiate ourselves. What we believe is that we provide a superior customer service to our customers. And we are experts in sustainability. And we've proven that in a number of different ways, including Tide, like we just talked about.
I'd be curious as well, and this may be more for Sofia on the sales side. I keep wondering, when people come to you, it's like, in your opinion, what is worth paying a little more for, and maybe what isn't? What are you seeing in terms of, earlier when you said, well, is it feasible? Is it possible? Anything's possible if you're willing to pay for it, right? But where are you all seeing the biggest bang for the buck? And I'll also add this. It reminds me a little bit of like real estate agents when they stage a home or they work with the home. They're like, okay, well, the kitchen is going to provide 50% more value versus this room. The main bedroom is going to matter more than the guest bedroom. When it comes to packaging, where are some of those pieces where you see brands focus some of their energy on, and it seems to have the biggest impact in terms of either the quality or the outcome of their packaging?
Well, I mean, I think that with some of the brands that we talk to or that I try to go into, I think what's unique about Seacliff Beauty is that you're not just buying from one individual, you're buying from a whole team. And so we collectively as a team work together to come up with the best solution for you. We have Brian, who's a packaging engineer, and we also have a couple other engineers on staff who do audits our factories. So what I like to tell customers is that, you know, if there's issues, because there are issues that do come up with packaging, that we just don't abandon you. And there's a price for that. So all of our services come with that component that they're paying for. So they're not going to, you know, if there's a problem, then they come to us, and then Brian especially gets involved, and we find out what the problem is. And that if that includes going to the filler, then we'll go to the filler. So you can't put a price on that. I think sometimes people think that they can pay less and they'll go somewhere else, and then they end up coming back to us because they realize that.
Yeah, it's like an advocacy. You know, at the end of the day, it's like having someone who's super experienced being able to advocate on your behalf. You know, that can make all the difference. So that makes a lot of sense. That sometimes it's not about just looking at the final product, but how you get there. Pretty good answer. I'm not gonna lie.
And it's still customer service driven. You know, I mean, I've sold a lot of different things, and at the end of the day, people buy from people a lot of times. But you know, with us, I really try to sell. You're not just getting me, you're getting all of us as a team, and that's something that a lot of companies don't offer.
And to that point, to Sofia's point, you know, it's also about knowing your customer or getting to know your customer, right? You talked about real estate and houses. You know, you don't meet someone looking for a new house and then show them a $10 million house right away. Once you understand their needs, then you show them the houses that make sense for them. And that's exactly the way we work. We have a conversation, and you know, we get a brief, we have a conversation. Well, what's important to you? Is price? Are you price constrained? Are you looking for economical solutions, or is it all about, you know, the bling, and you want something that really stands out, and you want superior, you know, function and aesthetic? And so all of those questions kind of lead us to that point where we give them the options that we think are best for that brand.
Yeah, makes sense. So before I let you go, it looks like Barbara has. I was hoping you would give us a little show and tell, Barbara, on some of the items you have there.
Yeah, I wanted to also mention how everybody thinks, you know, the most important thing is the bottle that's holding everything. Well, actually, the most important thing is the closure and the pump, because if it doesn't work, it's worthless.
So true.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to point out to you. That's why I brought that out. But here, so this is these are all 100% ocean plastic bottles and pump, and I've got some compacts here in blue. They happen to be all blue, but you also can do them in many colors, tubes. The best thing with the most important thing with ocean plastic or PCR, a good thing is to have it colored, not too light, because then the little spots will show. But our factories do a really good job, and they actually, for example, this one's kind of light, but we don't really see the dots on here. And what we do is, if you do want it 100% PCR or light color, we'll actually point them out to you. The factory will actually point out the dots, even though you can't see them. That's how good our factories are. They'll say, well, make sure you show this, because we don't want you to be unhappy with it if there are some dots on there. And basically, I would have never seen it if they hadn't pointed it.
What's important to note, Jacques, is what she's referencing, what Barbara's referencing, is that we're using garbage to make gold. Quite frankly, you're taking garbage and you're returning it to a package, right? And because it's not virgin, it processes differently, and sometimes it scorches a little bit. The resin gets a little bit scorched. Sometimes there's tiny little black marks in there that she's referencing. They're really small, hard to see, and we can develop a color that will mask most of that. But it's important to remember that it's still FDA and REACH compliant. It's still great resin. It forms very, very well.
And the last thing I want to mention too is that this is another component. So we can mix glass, and we can even put PCR in glass, and then we can make the applicator or the actuator and the cap in ocean-bound resin. And then in this case, this is a refillable. So one new trend now is refillables. So the customer can keep the outer, and then they would just replace the inner. So this would have a service cap. So this would be the refillable. Yeah, and so they can keep the high-end look and maybe have material that's not sustainable or recyclable. Although this is definitely, you can add PCR, and then they can keep this, and this would be recyclable, made out of PP, and they can throw this out. So refillables are really
I
popular.
was saying the refillables kind of solve two problems. It's like they do make things more sustainable, and they also create the expectation that that product is going to continue to be in that bottle, right? And so for these brands, especially subscribable brands, that's a huge value add. It's an investment in the experience people are having. It's an investment in the environment, but it's also an investment back in your company. So people are expecting they're not going to use another product in that bottle. They're going to refill it with yours. So I appreciate you all investing the time today to just talk packaging a little bit more. I can't wait for our partners and our audience to have a chance to just learn a little bit more, dive a little bit deeper on what's possible. And I know they can reach you through Seacliff Beauty, or of course, I'm happy to refer them your way. But thank you for your time.